Good afternoon, everyone. Today's Monday, May the 27th. I just want to say Happy Memorial Day. It's the day that we honor all the fallen men and women who served our country. We salute you. We thank you. If you haven't come to Lord Jesus Christ, now's the time. Time's running out quickly. Let's believe the gospel. Jesus died, was buried, and raised on the third day. John 3:16, for God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Put your faith and trust in Christ, in what he did on the cross. He shed his precious blood for your sins and mine, past, present, and future. It's also found in Corinthians 15, verses 1 through 4. Guys, don't wait. Jesus says, come as you are. For while we were yet sinners, he died for us. You don't need to wait till you're in church. You don't need to wait till you talk to a preacher. You don't need to do anything except put your faith and trust in Christ. The moment you do, you receive the Holy Spirit, which will change you and make you a new creature. And he will be your guide and help you and show you how to become a better person. But most of all, it's the earnest of our inheritance, which means we're saved and sealed by him till the day of redemption, until we receive the purchase, the fullness of our inheritance, which is what Jesus promised us, that we would be like him. So don't waste any time, because we're not promised another day on this earth, and time is short, as you can see around the world, the things that's going on. So I had a video. I actually planned a video out probably around the 16th of, was 18th, the 19th was big watch days. Of course, now looking in hindsight, nothing really happened. You know, the rapture, of course, didn't happen. Well, something did happen. Wasn't exactly what we expected, but it still would probably will turn out to be something huge. Ultimately, when the president of Iran was killed, along with other leaders, from Iran, and which will probably cause a chain reaction. Since then, we've had all kinds of things happen with Russia and their satellites being knocked out, missile tracking devices. So there's a lot going on. Storms, natural disasters. We had auroras all the way down as far as North Carolina. We've had even South Carolina. I'm pretty sure. I didn't see them myself. It's, one thing, I think it was cloudy here, but I couldn't see anything here. But there's places here that we're seeing it. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, you just don't see stuff like that this far down. I mean, the Bible says that there'd be signs in the heavens, so there'd be signs in the sun, moon, and stars, signs in the heavens. We've seen so many things that it's daunting to even think about all the things that's happened to try to list them anymore. I mean, there was a time when, a few things, that would stand out and that you could mention, but now there's just too many. So I just want to talk about some things that's happened since my last video. My last video, I talked about something that happened when I was driving to work. And Paul Begley, I was listening to one of his videos, and he was mentioning 9/11. And he mentioned 9/11, and my very next right-hand turn was going to be on a road called Edgefield, and there's a mailbox that sits there, and it's 1335. In Revelation it talks about blessed is he who reaches the 1335 days. Now, but also the interesting thing was that right when I listened to him, he starts talking about 9/11. He starts talking about Revelation 9/11, where it says that they had a king over them, and in Greek was Apollyon, and in Hebrew was Abaddon, but in Greek his name is Apollyon. And the truck in front of me, his license plate was 537 ABN, almost like ABN, Abaddon, which I don't know if that means anything, just coincidence. I don't really believe in coincidences, but numbers pop up, letters pop up. That could have just been, I just could have just put the two together. But it was still interesting that those letters appeared. And what was more interesting is that a few days later, I'm on my way to work. I'm in almost the exact same spot as I was when I heard Paul Begley talk about Revelation 9/11 and saw that truck right before I got to Edgefield. Almost like Jesus said, two will be in the field, one taking the other left. And on the edge of the field, almost, it's like, you know, it's almost like a tongue-in-cheek, you know, you're at the brink of the rapture, you know. But then, so I'm in that same spot, and I'm stopped behind a school bus. And I look over to the right, with the school bus in front of me, but I look over to the right, and in this people's yard, I don't know who they are, they live quite a ways down the street from me. Right in their front yard are 2 turkeys. Now, anybody that's been watching my channel, years ago I had this thing happen where I heard a bear out in the front on the porch. I know it was, absolutely a bear. It was the sound of a bear. It would sound like it was coming from the driveway, but there wasn't nothing there. But it startled me enough to where I'm thinking there must be a bear in the area somewhere, and the sound was echoing. So I ran. I didn't think about the fact that I said in the video that I ran back in the house because I wanted to tell everybody to be careful because I heard a bear outside, and you know there's woods all around us. I mean, hundreds of acres of woods every direction. So it could have, you know, I didn't want nobody to walk out into a bear be out there. So I ran into the house. One of my subscribers had pointed out the fact that I ran, and you know, Turkey at that time were in the news. Russia and Iran were in the news, but also Turkey was also in the news. But here's what's crazy. So the next day, I go to work in the morning. It's dark outside still. I'm parked in the parking lot back in the back behind the building. And the people across the street, the business across the street from us, was just an industrial zone. The business across, wasn't nobody there, but there was turkeys all over their yard, all over the front entranceway. I mean, a whole herd of them. I don't know what you call a herd, a flock or whatever, but there was a whole bunch of turkeys out there gobbling. And I heard them, and I didn't see them when I first got out of the car. And I'm walking up towards the fence, and somebody else had parked and got out of the car. And I said, "You hear that?" He says, "Yeah, that sounds like a turkey dinner," or something. He said something to the effect, or "wish we had a gun," or something. But he's just being funny. But I'm like, so that really is turkey. So I go up to the fence and I see them. There's a whole flock of them or whatever out there. So turkeys was invading our neighbor. Okay, just keep that back in your head. Turkeys was invading our neighbor. And the night before, I heard the bear, and I ran back into the house. So you got Turkey, Iran, and you got Russia. All 3 seem to be almost like prophetically appearing in my life. I'd never seen wild turkeys. I might have seen one on the side of the road once or twice in my life, thinking that it was a buzzard, you know, because, you know, you don't see them very often, but sometimes you do. You catch it out of the corner of your eye, you might see it. I might have, but I'm not so sure. But I've definitely never seen a whole flock of wild turkeys in my life. So that was incredible. And I didn't even realize, I didn't put it together till later. I was telling somebody at work about the turkeys, and then I put together the fact that I heard the bear, and then, you know, I ran inside. Someone had mentioned it. So I put all this together, and I'm like, whoa, you know, this is prophetic. So when I seen those 2 turkeys in the yard on this road up here, the same spot where I heard Paul Begley talking about Revelation 9:11, and saw the bus with a car with the ABN on it, the truck. I see these turkeys. Now, what's interesting about the turkeys I saw the first time years ago was black. They were just all black turkeys. And they looked like wild turkeys. These turkeys looked like wild turkeys too, but kind of different, because you had what appeared to be a male and a female, because you had the one, and I'm pretty sure that in nature, you know, the males are more decorated. So you got this one, he's got the long thing on his neck, he's got the big feathers in the back, and but both of them are kind of off-whitish color with black spots all over them. Now, I don't know if any of this means anything, or if this is just some random thing that happened. I mean, and I'm not saying that it does mean anything. It's just interesting. But I think it was a male and a female. And the other one was just more, it didn't have the thing under his neck, and it wasn't as decorated. They were like side by side. So basically, it seemed to be just a male and a female turkey in the yard. And then so I look up at the school bus, and the number on the school bus was 2020, okay? That was the school bus number, and the tag had some letters and the number 333. And if you guys follow me, you know that 333 has been a number that has been very prominent in my life. That and 323, but 333 as well. And a lot of people have had the 333 thing. There's even channels named after it. Mr. MBB 333, Dunamis 333. I think there's more. So 333 is a number that a lot of Christians have seen and felt that it was prophetic. But the fact is that in 2020 is when I heard those shofars in September and November. I talk about it all the time, but I heard 3 shofars on. There were 2 blasts, but there were in successions of 3. Well, I heard it was actually 2 shofars because it was 2 different days. And it was, but it was a course of 3 months, because it was September. I didn't hear one in October, but then November. So that's kind of like 3 months, a 3-month span. I heard 2 shofars, but they had 3 blasts on the first one. And then on the second one in November, I heard 3 times 3 blasts, like 333. Weird. I don't know. There's something about that number. It just keeps popping up. So anyway, so that happened, and that was interesting. Now, I don't know if that means anything, but no, I know that Turkey has been in the news a lot lately, and they were in the news a lot when I saw them the first time, when I saw those turkeys the first time. So possibly something going on with Turkey. We know there's stuff going on with Russia and Ukraine and with Israel and with all the proxies, and I think these are all players. And to me, it's the Ezekiel 38. Okay. Ezekiel 38 and 39. That's what I feel like might be getting set up now. Now, I don't think it's actually happened yet, but it's getting set up, which I believe a lot of people believe that too. And, you know, there's Psalm 83 also, which we know it could also be talking about a war. Some people think it's a prayer, but it could be talking about a war too. And they both seem to have the same players in it. I think that both of these wars, I think Watchwoman 65, Lisa Boyce, I believe she also believes that Psalm 83 and Ezekiel 38 and 39 are kind of synonymous with each other, one and the same. Which brings me to the fact that a few years ago, I was wearing a hat from Tractor Supply that said established 1938 and a shirt from Myrtle Beach that said established 1938. Didn't realize that I was wearing both of those at the same time for a couple of months. One day, and looking in the mirror after we had been talking about Ezekiel 38, it hit me. I see it in the mirror, but I see it in reverse, so I see like 1983, you know, instead of 1938. Well, you know what I'm saying. It was in reverse. So that's when I put it together that, wait a minute, Ezekiel 38, Psalm 83, they're the mirror image of each other. Could it be possible, and that's what I thought this back then, could it be possible that Psalm 83 and Ezekiel 38, 39 are one and the same, just maybe at different time frames? Now, that's just a theory. I have no idea. But I thought it was interesting that I noticed the hat, and I wore it for so long, didn't realize that. And then I noticed it in the mirror image. You know, you see what I'm saying? I believe they might be synonymous with each other. So anyway, so on the way home, and this was on May the 16th, this was the day I was actually planning to make this video, and I went home and I wrote all this stuff down, but I never made the video. I don't know why I didn't, guys. I didn't feel led to it, for one thing, and there was some stuff going on. I had some issues with my son that's been going on back and forth, and I just had a lot on my mind, and I felt like, well, if anything's going to happen, it's going to be in a couple of days. And the warning has already been out really strong about the 18th and 19th. And I said, I've already mentioned it in my last video. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to sit on this for a little bit and wait for the Holy Spirit to prompt me. You know, and I believe today was obviously the day, because I've had other things going. Me and the group was talking, which is Kevin Spinebreaker, Mike with Repo Man 64, and Will with Worship and Watch. We're all talking here, and we all throw ideas up and stuff. And today, it's too much to go into, but we had some ideas, and Kevin come up with something that actually winds up an average of the numbers of the years of the eclipse, which was, you know, 2017. And anyways, those dates come out to a number that ended with 333. And the common numbers in here was sevens and 1, 2, and 3. Anyways, that's another story I'm going to get into, but it caused me to start thinking about this 333 again, and how, you know, it's important. So anyways, I'm right on the road where where I heard Paul Begley, where I saw the turkeys and all that stuff. But this time I'm coming home from work, so I'm going the opposite direction. But I'm in the same, almost exactly the same spot, only on the other side of the road, going the other way, going in the opposite direction. I come up on a car, and their tag has 911 on it. I mean, you don't see 911 on the tag very often, but it was some letters and 911. And, you know, I do notice tags sometimes, but I don't always. I'm not looking at tags all the time. I know it sounds like I probably do, but I don't really. But here's the other thing that was happening all through that time. I kept seeing 666. I was at work, and a box came from FedEx. When I was receiving the boxes in, there was a box that was a 6-inch box. It was a 6 by 6 by 6 square. And it had 666. 6 by 6 by 6 on it. So when I showed the receiving clerk girl, I was showing her the box. I said, look, this is the devil's box, the devil's cube, just being funny or whatever. And I didn't think nothing more about it until I saw the number like several times later again in the day. And on the way home, guys, now I sent the picture of my odometer. I'm always seeing these crazy numbers on my odometer. But I looked at my odometer at some point riding home. There it is. The very last 3 letters of the odometer, or number letter, the last 3 numbers of the odometer, 666. that was pretty interesting, seeing as how I've been seeing it here, all day long, that I've been seeing that number. And, 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18. So, of course, the 18th was coming up, and I thought there was something to it. It was one of the reasons why I wanted to make that video, but obviously it didn't have nothing to do with that. But still, nevertheless, I saw the 666. And then I get home, and I'm telling my wife about it. And my son, he texted me. He said, I meant to tell you earlier. He says, but, no, I'm sorry. He didn't text me. He came home from work and told me, this is before I said anything about seeing 666. He didn't hear me and his mom talking about it either. He came in after I told her about seeing 666 on the odometer and at work and everything. He comes in, he says, oh, I meant to tell you, I was going to send you a text earlier today that I had 666 on my odometer. And of course, my mouth drops open because he literally sees 666 on his odometer the same day I do, and not knowing that I was even talking about it brings it up to me. That was the craziest thing. And that's when the goosebumps start rolling, because that's when, like, this is not good. I mean, that number can't be good for this to keep happening. What does it mean? What does it mean? And so, he did say he was going to take me out and show it to me, but that was earlier in the day, so he had driven it and it was gone. But he had it happen, and it was the proof to me was the fact that he told me before I said anything to him that all this was happening to me. So that was crazy. And so I'm going over some of the notes that I wrote for the 16th that I was going to write, so because still some of it may apply now. Then yesterday, May 17th. That was the 666 box, okay. And then Tyler told me about him seeing the 666 on his odometer. Okay, hang on a second. So, guys, I know I'm all over the place. I should have made this video when this happened so that it would make more sense. But I guess the point I'm just making is these numbers. These numbers: 666, 333, 911. 911 is popping up everywhere. Remember, I told you I saw the car coming home in the same spot that Paul Begley was talking about Revelation 9:11. I see a car going in the opposite direction. This time I'm going home, but the same spot I was at when I was going the other way and heard Paul Begley talking about Revelation 9:11 and seeing the truck with ABN. Then the next day or whatever, seeing the two turkeys in the same spot, and then the bus having 333 in 2020, which 2020 is when I heard the shofars, and a lot of, that means perfect sight. A lot of people have had prophetic visions and dreams and stuff from 2020. Brother Will with Worship and Watch, he had his really crazy dream when I did the video about the rattlesnakes and all that. That happened in 2020. So 2020 is like a big year for prophecy and stuff and visions. And so the bus actually has 2020 on it and 333. And then I'm going the other way and I see a car with 911 on the tag. So if that wasn't enough, I go home and I'm telling my wife about all this. As I do always, when these kind of things happen, I tell her about it when I come home, or we talk about it on the phone. When she's on her way home, she'll call me. But I'm telling her about it, and so I'm just going to read what I wrote here. I was listening earlier to an audio I did about the turkey and led into the spot where Paul Begley was talking about 9/11 from a timeline, and my wife changes the channel on the TV. An emergency call 911 is in the subtitles. Literally, right after we're talking about 911, she changes it, and it's like the first thing that pops up on the screen is a subtitle saying emergency 911. And remember, when I heard the shofars in 2020, this is how this all connects. That's September and November, which is the 9th month and the 11th month. So you got 9/11 in the shofars too. So, shofars being a warning in the book of Ezekiel 33:3. Chapter 33, verse 3, it says, and the watchman, when he sees the sword coming, will blow the shofar. Okay, so this is a warning. Okay, this is a clear and stark warning. We know that 911 is emergency. That's the number we use when we call it emergency. What happened with with 9/11? It's a warning. I believe that this is a warning that God has given us, a very stark warning. But also, if you think about too, with the 9/11, 9 times 11 is 99, right? Jesus, he leaves the 99 to get the 1, right? So I see also, and I didn't write down where I saw this. Now I'm trying to remember, but I saw 1911 in something. It's what made me think of that 9 times 11 is 99. Jesus leaves the 99 for the 1. So 1911 reminds me of that Jesus leaves the 99 to get the 1. So that's kind of cool and interesting. Oh, I remember what it was. I remember I wrote it down in there, pallet support. So I'm unloading a pallet truck, and the pallets are stacked all the way up to the, inside the truck. There's a whole truckload of them, but they're plastic pallets, okay? None of the pallets had anything wrote on the middle. All the writing and barcodes and things of these pallets, these are like rental pallets. These pallets go to a certain company. So they got barcodes and everything. They're tracked. They keep up with them. So anyways, the middle, there's no numbers or anything in the middle. That's where I would be looking, like through the forklift. I'd be looking at the pallets. There's never any numbers or letters right in front of you. But this time, this day, and this is right after all this happened. This was like on the 18th. I'm looking straight at a pallet, and when I'm bringing it up, it might even be the last stack on the truck. I think it was one of the last stacks, if not the last stack that came off the truck. There's the letters, and they're kind of faded out because it's, I don't even think it's supposed to be there. It might have been accidentally put there. But the numbers 1911, and each one had something written under it, so those numbers meant something. It wasn't just a 1911. But when I saw that 1911, I'm thinking, wow, there's that number again. And then I got to think about the 99. 9 times 11 is 99, and then the 1, the 1 for 1911. Jesus leaves the 99 to get the 1. Anyways, I just thought that was interesting. So all that to say this, guys, and I know like I said, I'm all over the place, so you probably didn't really catch a whole lot of that, but it doesn't matter because I'm just trying to tell you that confirmations are happening everywhere, and they include certain things like 9/11, Revelation 9/11, Warning 9/11. You got 666, which is the mark of the beast, which is some things that I think Bob Barber and other people have talked about, things that I already have thought of in the past myself, and I'm sure a lot of people have too, that when you think about 100% of something, if you take away 33% of something, it leaves you 66.6%. So it's like you got a third of something is 33.3. There's your 333 again. So I keep seeing 333. But then you also, what you got left is 66.6. So could it possibly be that 666 represents man? And in Revelation 13, it does say that. It says that the mark of the beast, it says, is the number of a man, and his number is 603 score and 6. So it's interesting that there's 600 or 66.6 left as a percentage if you take 33.3 away, which is a third, which the devil drew a third of the angels out of heaven. So could it be that we as Christians, the Christian church, the believers, the born again believers who will go to heaven, and Bob Barber, I think, believes this, that we may be replacing those third of the angels that came out. Not that we're going to be angels, but a third of the host of heaven have been drawn out. So maybe we are the replacement, So maybe, and plus we were created on day 6. Our number is 6. So maybe there's a reason why the number of the beast is 666. Maybe it's alluding to the fact, and it's very possible too, that the devil himself is infiltrating a human body, and the rest of humanity that's not born again, that's not saved, that won't be out in heaven, is going to be deceived by the devil in the form of 66.6% of humanity is fooled. Or, I don't know. There's a lot of reach and stretching there. It's just interesting, It's interesting also that a carbon atom, and you can look this up, this is a fact. Well, I don't know if it's a fact if they've ever seen it, but this is what the scientists say. How do we know? Whatever. They say that a carbon atom has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. That's 666. And here's something else about the number 666. I'm only talking about this number because I keep seeing it. So, we're trying to figure out what this could mean. That's obviously the mark of the beast. It's obviously synonymous with the Antichrist, the beast, the devil, evil. But where else in the Bible do we see that number? And I've talked about it before, and most people by now probably know about it, but there's still a lot of people out there, a lot of Christians that don't know that this is in the Bible. Again, it's not just in there one time in Revelation, it's in there again in the Old Testament. In the book of, I believe it's in Kings, it's where Solomon basically was a good king at first. He was God gave him wisdom and all the riches and gold, and he was a good king. But somewhere he went bad. He took way too many wives. These wives were all pagans. He wound up buying into their religions or serving their gods by burning incense on the mountains. Anyways, the Bible records that Solomon died an evil man in God's sight. Most people don't realize this, that he wasn't always a good king. He turned bad at some point. But here's one of the things that happened. He put a tax on the Hebrew people, and they were to bring him 606 talents of gold every year. The reason why I'm bringing this up too is for one, that most people don't know it's already in the Bible once. But why is it important? It actually could be, you could say it's in the Bible 3 times, because in the book of Daniel, there's something kind of synonymous with 6662, but don't say 666. But this literally says 603 score and 6, just like it's written in Revelation, talking about this heavy tax burden of gold that Solomon put on the Hebrew people. I guess this is after he had just started turning evil. Really odd that it was gold. It's really odd that it had something to do with money. I mean, doesn't the Bible say you can't hold the hand of mammon in the hand of God? Mammon is the god of money. And who is that? The devil. I mean, we know that there's only one God, and anything that's lesser than God, any lesser God is, no matter what religion or they are, it represents the devil, because if you don't serve God, you're serving the devil. So you think about it like that. There's lots of other religions. Some people worship Buddha, statues, things, all these other things. But technically, if you get right down to the bare bones, the brass tacks or whatever, of what do people worship if they don't worship God? They worship the devil. So the devil's the god of money, and he's the god of this age. The Bible says he's the god of this age. So, he obviously there's something evil about an excess amount of money, an excess amount of taxes, an excess of things that, put a burden on people. So there's something else about that number that not only screams Antichrist and evil, but also screams of a system of government that is very hard, that's very taxing, and they basically take everything that you have. And, well, we know that the mark of the beast is based on money. We know that it's based on you can't buy or sell. Now we've got 2 things that are in common. We've got 666, which is mentioned with Solomon burdening the people with tax of gold. And then you've got you can't buy or sell without having a mark, and that mark is 603 score and 6. So it has something to do with this greediness, this system of government, this taxation, this thing, this mark. In other words, this mark is the tax burden of Solomon that says if you don't take this mark, you can't buy or sell. So basically, you're giving up something. You're sacrificing your eternal soul to be a part of this money system. So, there's something to be said about that. So there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, guys, and be encouraged. I believe that this is the year that we go home. I don't know exactly when. I'm kind of, I'm just to the point where I can't figure it out. So I'm just watching, but I do want to bring up this one point. Now, I mentioned this to Kevin this morning, and this is kind of my theory, but I don't think I think there's more truth in it than theory, to be honest, but this is my theory, and this comes from Revelation 12, and I've spoken of it before. Hang on, let me flip to it. Now, Revelation 12, we know, is about the woman clothed with the sun, the great sign in heaven. And we know that after that, there's a sign of a great red dragon who drags a third of the stars from heaven to the earth. We know that the devil drags a third of the stars, a third of the angels with him when he comes to the earth, when he gets kicked out of heaven. Now, how many has he already been kicked out of heaven? Well, he has it in some way. He has been kicked out of heaven already, and he already took a third of the angels with him. As far as like, being in the devil can't. All the angels petition God once a year for things they need. So the devil's able to show up. It's in the book of Job. He's able to show up in heaven to petition God. He probably also shows up there to accuse us, because it says in Revelation 12 he accused the brethren night and day. But he's not able to live there in grace or in glory anymore like he used to. He's obviously, he comes there as kind of like someone going into Egypt during the time of the great famine to get food. They're not living there. They're just there for a reason, and then they got to leave again. They're not living there, so they're already kicked out. But this time it says when he's kicked out, there's no place found in heaven for him. So he can't go back to heaven to accuse us. He can't go petition God for things he needs. He is completely and forever kicked out of heaven, and he's sent to the earth. That's the only place he has to go, is straight to the earth. So here's what I'm trying to get at. So what is it about the rapture that we're all looking for this sign? We're looking for this date. We're looking for this one thing that's going to identify this date. How can we figure it out? How can we know what this date is? Stan with the 1111 channel talks about it all the time, but his a lot of controversy in things he says because he believes that we're already into the seals. I understand his point where he's coming from on it, but I don't agree. I do understand where he's coming from and why it's he believes this, and there may be some truth in it in some respects. I mean, because we know that Revelation is not necessarily written chronologically. It's written. There's certain things that happen. It's almost like there's several different explanations of the same events. But we won't get into that because it's not important right now. It's not going to do what I'm talking about. All I'm saying is that he's brought this up before, is the fact that in the Olivet Discourse, Jesus talks about stars falling from heaven, and it's literally mentioned in Revelation 12. So here's where I'm going with this. What is it that we know that's going to happen at the time of the rapture? How do we know? Okay, these are two questions that we ask. What's going to happen, and how do we know it's going to happen? Well, we know that the devil comes down. Here, I'm going to read this to you. It says, and I heard a loud voice. This is verse, by the way, this is chapter 12, verse 10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they, the brethren, just talk about the brethren, they overcame, this is the rapture. They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death. In other words, they weren't afraid to die for Christ. They weren't hanging on to their life. They wasn't like running when Jesus came. They embraced him. They were waiting for him. They loved the Lord, and they were willing and ready to go. They didn't love their life. They wanted to, even if they were to die. So why would it even be said that they loved not their life unto death unless there was some reason to believe that they could have died or thought they were going to die? Because something probably was happening that could have led them to believe, if not they had faith and knew that it was Christ coming, they could have been scared to death, okay, and ran instead of embraced Christ. And I believe that is this same events. Now, a lot of people have had dreams about nuclear bombs coming down and us going up. Well, listen to this. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil has come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And then the dragon saw that he was cast onto the earth, and he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man child. Remember, and earlier on in the chapter, if you go back and read it, and I didn't read this, but if you go back and read Revelation 12, it says, another wonder in heaven, a great red dragon, who was waiting to devour the child as soon as it was born. Born from the woman in the very first part. So this woman representing Israel and this child representing the church. The devil is waiting to devour the church, but the church is raptured to heaven and to God's throne. It's called up. It's the same word, arpazo. So this child is gone. So the devil, when he realizes it, see, it says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and them that dwell in them. Woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth he have but a short time. It says, rejoice, ye heavens, and them that dwell in it, because the rapture just happened, and the devil has been cast out. But it also says that woe unto the inhabitants of the earth, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, knowing that he hath but a short time. The devil knows he's only got 7 years, and it started obviously the moment he hits the ground, because it says, and when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man child. He immediately goes to work. So the moment he gets here, he goes to work. So that would be the start of tribulation. And what just happened? The rapture. The rapture happened. Then the tribulation begins, all when the devil's coming down. The stars are falling from heaven. The devil and his minions are coming down. His angels are coming to the earth. But could there be a nuclear war along with that? Yes. All this could be happening on the same day. So, but what are we to look for? What is it that Jesus said to look for in the Olivet Discourse? The stars falling from heaven. This is a huge sign that when we see this, when the devil gets kicked out of heaven, we're going to see him. And also in Luke 21, it says, when you see these things begin to happen, look up, for your redemption draweth nigh. So when we see these things happening, that we'll also see Jesus. Because it says, and they shall see the sign of the Son of Man coming in the clouds of power and great glory. They're going to see him. They will see Jesus. We will likely be snatched up. They're going to see it happen. And the devil's coming down too. So it's going to be pretty crazy on that day. This is going to be a crazy day. So I believe that that's going to happen soon. So could it be that a nuclear war is what starts it all? Now, what evidence do we have for that? Not a whole lot. But there is verses in the Bible that kind of allude to the nuclear thing, and we can go over it. Atomos. Okay. Let's just suffice it to say this: there are verses that talks about things that seem to be nuclear bomb. people's, tongues and eyes melting in their sockets. There's all sorts of things. So, but here's the thing. Even with all that, you got something else too. You got the fact that things have happened. Okay, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Richard Byrd. Admiral Richard Byrd was a famous explorer. He was a Navy admiral who did a lot of exploring for the U.S. Navy. He took he took fleets whole fleets of ships to North Pole and South Pole. Well, he had a private journal that was very controversial, and there's no way to prove whether it was true or not. We don't know. But it was very controversial, and it wasn't to be released until his death, and his son released it after his death. It was disclosed information that he was not allowed to talk about, especially at least while he was alive, but he wanted the world to know that he had discovered something when he went to either North Pole or Antarctica. Something happened. He saw these majestic beings, and you could go look it up. You can find it if you look it up diligently on Google. You can find this journal, and it's very detailed, and it almost sounds very crazy. But the fact that if he did write it, coming from a reputable person like Admiral Richard Byrd, who was an admiral for the U.S. Navy, you can't just dismiss it altogether. So he says he encountered these majestic beings that were ancient. The Bible says that the angels can appear, the devil's angels can appear as ministers of righteousness. Is it no wonder that the devil can appear as an angel of light? I believe this could have been a situation where the devil and his angels were appearing as ministers of angels of light, because he talked about their city. It was under the ground. It's very detailed. I can't give you all the details without reading it. But my point is, they told him to go back and tell the world that they're in danger, that the nuclear bombs, that they threaten to destroy the world, and if they ever decide to use these bombs, that they are going to come and they're going to intervene. All right, so isn't that kind of ironic that story, now whether it's true or not, it don't really matter, because I'm just trying to get to a point. If it is true, it's very substantial, very significant, because think about it. If that was what they're claiming, when the rapture happens and the minions of the devil come down and the devil, then the first thing they're going to say is, we're here to stop you from destroying the planet with nuclear bombs, especially if the nuclear war is what starts off. That's my whole point. So if all this happens on the same day, it gives the devil a perfect excuse that he could say that they've always been here, or they've been watching us and they're here to protect us, and they don't want us to destroy our planet. Maybe they say they don't want us to destroy it because they live on it too. Who knows what they're going to say, but somehow or another they'll use it to spin it. So it's very possible that a nuclear war could happen on that day. Whether you believe that story or not, it doesn't really matter. It's a grain of salt. There's no way to prove it's true or not. It's been a controversial story ever since it came out. He may have not even wrote it. Some people believe it was just fabricated by his son, or it never existed. So, but either way, it would be interesting. So it does make sense that a nuclear war would happen at the same time, because it does open the door for an opportunity for the devil to use it as a deception, and spin things a certain way. So, but what we are definitely looking for, we don't know for sure if there'll be a nuclear war. Some people like Chris with Rapture Watchers is convinced of it. There's other people that are convinced that there's going to be a nuclear war, and that's the day the rapture is going to happen, because we're going to go before we get blown up. Now, I can't corroborate that belief necessarily with anything scriptural, except that when I had my vision at 11, there was an explosion, and it looked like a nuclear bomb went off, but in front of me whenever this thing happened, and my brother was in it, Kenny was in it. But anyways, I don't know what it was. There was no sound, but I just remember seeing the whole horizon light up with this giant bright orange light. It came toward, just sweeping through the trees like a nuclear bomb. And so I always believed that it was a nuclear bomb until I got older and then started thinking it could have been the light of God. It could have been the whole rapture resurrection event happening. Who knows? But it could have been anything. But it certainly looked like a nuclear bomb. So there's a possibility there. But definitely for sure, one thing that we're definitely looking for, and we don't know when it's going to happen. There's really no way to know. We can speculate that this is the year, but now that the spring feasts are gone, we're possibly coming up on the Pentecost. Now that's gone too on the Jewish calendar, but there's some calendars that say it's later. So just saying hypothetically, we still possibly have the Pentecost. We still have the fall feast. But since the spring feasts are gone, that narrows down the time a little bit here. I believe it's this year, and I believe it's going to happen soon. I think it makes more sense for us to leave in the spring than it does in the fall. But none of that really matters. But the thing is that one thing that we're looking for is for war in heaven. War in heaven, if it included a nuclear attack, it wouldn't surprise me. So with all the nuclear threat right now, this could be a prime time for high watch rapture dates, and I don't really have any rapture dates right now, but I will say this. Look up, keep looking up, because we are in a time now where Israel is becoming that burdenous stone, or that cup of trembling to the whole world, because the whole world is turning against Israel right now. And they just can't stand the fact that they're defending themselves against, those evil monsters in Hamas that are hiding and using the people in Gaza as human shields. They can't handle the fact that Israel has a right to defend themselves. After what happened on October 7th last year, they have every right to be doing what they're doing, but it's either here or there. But it does make sense that with all these things happening, with the earthquakes, with the storms, with the auroras, with the solar flares, with the heating up, with the cicadas, with all the crazy things that's happened this year. I mean, we thought it was bad last year and the year before, but this year it's just off the charts. Like I said, it's daunting to try to list the things that's happened. It's just too much. The president of Iran got killed. The nuclear guidance system in Israel, the missile guidance system in Israel knocked down. But twice, it's happened twice now. I think it's NATO. Don't know. Nobody know. I don't know if they know for sure, but I think they believe it's NATO now. So anyways, guys, look up. Look up. We're seeing the things that Luke 21 talks about beginning to happen. It's beginning to happen. Look up, for your redemption draweth nigh. Guys, I love you so much. And don't be afraid. I don't believe that we'll be here when a nuclear war happens. If we are, we're going to be leaving like right away. I believe that's our ticket out of here. So don't be afraid. Embrace it. If it happens, it's probably because the rapture is about to happen. Guys, we are going to be taken off of this world before the tribulation day starts. That much I know for sure. Before the devil hits the ground, I believe. So I'll see you either here or there, especially in the air. This is Brother Chooch. You guys have a wonderful Memorial Day, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.